But now I'm telling you, you ought to disrespect people who respect him. And let me tell you why. Here's the reason. First of all, we need to understand that it is reported, and I believe I'm accurate on this, and not I'll be corrected, that 19 of the 20 hijackers that were a part of the 9/11 Holocaust here in America came from or had some major connection to Saudi Arabia. 19. Historically documented fact that Saudi Arabia was at the heart of 9/11. We know that. That's a fact. We also understand that Dr. Khalid al-Mansour was the emissary of a Saudi prince who represented at the time, back in the late 70s and 80s, represented the king of Saudi Arabia through his prince. That this emissary, Dr. Khalid al-Mansour, also was instrumental in providing a cover by paying Columbia University money to issue Barack Obama an admittance letter while he did not have to attend classes, and then 2 years later offer him a diploma for which he never had to study, write a thesis, or attend a class. That the money that Columbia needed at the time, because Columbia has always been on the lower end of the top 10 Ivy League schools, and Columbia needed money in cramped quarters here in New York City to expand, to take over more land from the Harlem people, to confiscate, to kick people out of their homes here in Harlem. Columbia back in the 70s needed money to do that in order to grow and to continue competitive. Columbia was below the Cornell and Syracuse universities back in the 70s and 80s. They were just a misfit, misguided school that had been plagued by student uprisings, student riots, and Columbia had fallen off the radar screen. They needed money. Dr. Khalid al-Mansour offered them literally millions upon millions upon millions to give an acceptance letter to Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, and to promise to give him a diploma after 2 years, while Obama was in an Afghan al-Qaeda training camp during those missing years when we thought he was at Columbia. So it was the Saudi money and the Saudi prince and the Saudi king and the emissary, Dr. Khalid al-Mansour, and it wasn't so much that Percy Sutton and Charles Rangel were instrumental in convincing Harvard to accept the long-legged Mac Daddy into Harvard Law School. It was Percy Sutton, who was then the borough president of Manhattan, to influence Columbia University to give Obama an admittance letter. The next item is Obama's travel to Pakistan at the time he was supposed to be allegedly had studied at Columbia University, and they never reported him truant. They never reported him absent. They just let the roll go on. Obama, Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, allegedly reported, he reported to the Federal Elections Commission that his campaign raised $605 million. That's just an eyeshadow shot shy of $1 billion for his campaign. He reported that to the Federal Elections Commission. That's how much he reported he took in. Think of how much he did not report, did not have to report, that was used as walking around money by surrogates and others who were able to bribe or pay, or instruments or organizations like Acorn, whose input, their manpower hours also attributed to Obama campaign. This boy spent nearly $2 billion to buy the presidency back in the year 2008, but he reported $605 million. Well, where do you think that money came from? The long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, let me get his name right now, Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, finally had an opportunity the first time to travel to Saudi Arabia recognizing he owes his career to the Saudis, to Dr. Khalid al-Mansour, to Charles Rangel, and to Percy Sutton, and to Columbia University president at the time, and to the money that came from Saudi Arabia. This man could not help himself, and he was told, you bow when you meet King Abdullah. You bow, and you bow deeply when you meet King Abdullah. And he did. He did. He bowed, and we got it all on tape, because that's where his life comes from. It was Saudi money that bought his education both at Columbia and Harvard. Where else did he get the money from? You tell me. It was Saudi money that spent nearly $2 billion on the 2008 campaign. Obama's face was everywhere. They had Obama's statue and likenesses in clothing stores. They had Obama's face and likeness in coffee shops. Wherever you looked during the campaign, Obama's face and likeness was everything. $2 billion from the Saudi government, and they had more. They would have spent $4 billion if they needed to. Now, the Saudi question. So now, if that's not enough about the Saudi question in connection with the long-legged Mac Daddy, Obama, his grandmama, Sarah, my God, now she goes to Saudi Arabia, and she goes during the time of the Great Hajj, and she travels to Mecca and Medina at the expense of the Saudi King Abdullah, and she carries a whole plane load of people with her, all on a 5-star excursion to Saudi Arabia, out of Mombasa, Kenya, in the village where Obama's grandmama comes from. What is going on in Saudi Arabia? But that ain't all. Did you hear that early on in the end of the campaign that the Saudi king made an offer to Rupert Murdoch to finance Fox News operation worldwide, globally, give them a foothold against CNN and the alphabet networks, and an infusion of cash came in. And when the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama won the election, then Saudi Arabia recognized that they wanted a network like Al Jazeera, and so they invested and bought up nearly 40% of the stock. The Saudi Arabian government bought up 40% of the stock of the Fox News network. Now, let me ask you a question that all of y'all were asking a year ago. Is Obama a Muslim? My answer to that is the Pope Catholic. All of his strength comes from Saudi Arabia. Hey, there it is. There it is, everybody. There's no more guesswork. Now, what y'all gonna do about it? There's no more guesswork. There's no refuting it. There's no calling me ugly names. There's nothing you can say about me that changes these facts. You can call me ugly names all day long, but it doesn't change the fact. This man is a quasi-Muslim freak. That's what he is.